I'm going to read this one from my Uncle Chris. Me and his wife last night went through some points. We thought this would be a good point for him. A golden heart stopped beating. A loved one on put to rest. God broke our hearts to prove He only takes the best. It's going to be lonesome here without you. We will miss you more each day. The life doesn't seem the same since you've gone away. When days are sad and lonely and everything goes wrong, we seem to hear you whisper, cheer up and carry on. Each time we see your picture, you seem to smile and say, don't cry, I'm in God's keeping, we'll meet again someday.
I'm Lisa. I was Chris's nurse, and Miss Sherry asked me to say a few words, and that just was really an honor when she asked me to do that, to speak about Chris. I don't think I met Chris on his best day. It was probably one of his worst days, and I don't really do worst days very well. It makes me really, it makes my heart sad. But Chris, well, he handled it so well, something we could probably all learn from. He was a fighter. He fought a tough battle and he fought hard. He was probably one of the toughest guys I've ever met. And he is probably, it was an honor knowing Chris in the short time that I got to know him. It was an honor to be able to walk beside him and Miss Sherry and the family as he made this final journey home. And I just want to thank you for letting me witness the most loving gift that you can give someone, a peaceful death. And I just want to say, may you all carry the memory of Chris in your heart, as I know I will, and may those memories bring you peace.
Someone else now like Well, we are here this afternoon because the earthly life of Chris Atwood has come to a close. And we're here this afternoon to try to give some respect and tribute to his memory. And at the same time, we would like for our presence to say something to you family members, to show our concern and our love, and to remind you that we don't want you to feel like you're standing alone at this time, because of the number of friends you have here, it's very positive that you are not having to stand without some support. We would not want you to feel hurt in your heart that you're feeling with his departure and feel like you're by yourself. You have friends that are praying for you and will continue to pray for you. You will know that Chris was born and reared in the Winston-Salem area. He was very comfortable when he was out on a day like this, observing God's creation. You know, when we see the beauty around us, what God has made, it speaks more to us than about who God is and His care for us, than we're able to even put into words. But it's great when a person can find his happiness and peace out enjoying the creation that God Himself has made. The sight and sound of children seem to always bring peace and joy and laughter to Chris. Of course, he liked all children, but his grandchildren were the ones that were very special to him. I think he called them pokers. We're not surprised about this, because when we read in the Bible, we find that's akin to what Jesus was like. Jesus loved the little children. When parents were fussing about, don't bother Jesus, Jesus was saying, let them come to me. So we're not surprised that a man who loved children was able to enjoy them. He loved his family and was able to enjoy his friends as well. With their music time together, with cookouts, whatever brought friends together, he seemed to be happy and pleased at that point. Now, I think any person ought to be honored by the fact that a companion could say about the person what she said about him, that he was good and kind and gentle. And I'm not sure that our companions, all of our companions, could say that about us. So that tells us a lot about a fellow when a wife can say that about him. We know that he had his smarts. He was interested for a while in business. Took courses at Surrey Community College even, towards a degree. Without finishing that, though, he devoted more of his time with working with cars. And that was more of his interest. As friends, we're here this afternoon to try to assure you of our support for you. And I could hope that with us being here and caring about you, it could remind you that God is able to care even more for you than all of us put together. And though he's not a regular church attender, he knew the Bible. He was baptized at an early age. He knew a lot of Scripture. And this has to bring peace and comfort to us to know that he was a person of that caliber. Now, I want us to remember that when Jesus was on earth, he was constantly going about helping hurting people. And I think we know now what Jesus is doing for us because we're able to see what he did when he was here as a human being on earth. He went about helping. Some were blind, some were hungry. And whatever else their need, Jesus was always there for them and with them. In one place in the scripture, a dad went running up to Jesus, begging him to come because a daughter was ill, about to die. Jesus gave his attention to that person. He cared about what that father was going through. Another time, he saw a crippled person, been on his bed crippled for many, many years, 38 years. And Jesus asked him, do you want to be made well? Jesus was saying to him, do you want what I can do for you? And I believe that's what Jesus is asking you today. Do you want what he can do for you? He's waiting for you to ask that for him. There was another time in the New Testament where Jesus went to a fellow. His name was Matthew. Matthew was a hated and despised tax collector. And Jesus asked him, do you want to follow me? Jesus was giving him a chance to look at his life and see if he was happy with where he was and what he was doing. And in essence, he was saying, if you don't like what you're doing now, come follow me. So Jesus gives us that kind of a chance to look at life, to see where we're going and what we're doing and what happiness and peace it's bringing. And he gives us a chance to change directions if that is a need in our lives. And he is able and willing for that to take place with us. I think the scripture that I read today was put in our New Testament for a day like this. Jesus was a friend to this family. There was a brother and two sisters. The brother became ill, and the sisters were concerned. They wanted Jesus to know about this. So they sent him word. Jesus was some distance away, so it took time to get there. But instead of saying Lazarus is sick, they sent word to Jesus, Jesus, the one you love is ill. And I like that. Because I can say to Jesus today, Jesus, this family that you love is hurting. They need what you can do for them. So I think that can remind us, and I believe that's here to remind us of that. When Jesus did arrive at the home of Lazarus, as you remember that story, he'd been dead for 4 days already. And we don't know everything that Jesus said. In fact, we know very little. But I don't think Jesus said to those sisters, "Now don't you cry." I don't think he said, "Well, at least he's not hurting anymore. He's not in pain. You're better off." I don't think Jesus did that kind of thing. When I read this, I see that Jesus is standing with them. The scripture said he was grieved at their hurt. So Jesus stood with them. His heart was touched by their need for him. He stood with them. He grieved with them. He even cried. And I think that tells us the concern that Jesus has for you family members this afternoon. So I would urge you to let Jesus feel the need in your heart that you feel now. He'll give you strength. He's the only one that can do that. And he will not disappoint you if you give him a chance to help. And we can get that help simply by asking him